Today's story is about a racist mother-in-law who goes on an absolute rampage, saying that OP of the story is a tasteless cook. She can't whip up anything in the kitchen because it all tastes so bland. Well, we're going to get a taste of reality when this mother-in-law reaches her boiling point and finds out that actions do have consequences. Let's go.
Hello everyone, my name's Arasha. I'm an Indian woman who married into a wonderful white family 7 years ago. My life with my husband's family has been bittersweet as most of the members love me. Oh, except for my mother-in-law, Christina. Jason and I met when he came to a friend's wedding in India. I was a friend of the bride and he was on the groom's side. We became fast friends while preparing for the wedding. We started our relationship after not being able to stop talking to each other on the phone. It was hard as he lived in America and I was still in India. It soon became clear that our long-distance relationship wasn't really for us, but we really liked each other and truly wanted to give the relationship a true shot. Indians can be a bit narrow-minded, and I knew I would not be allowed to move in with my boyfriend in another country, so I found my way to America through my work. This allowed Jason and me to be closer to each other, and we knew that we would end up together soon enough. We didn't waste much time, and we were engaged in just a year of our relationship. He introduced me to his family and they loved me. I loved them. His sister Carol was a sweetheart and much younger than both Jason and I. Jason's father was also a very soft-spoken man. I, however, did not get along with his mother, who clearly did not like that I was an Indian through and through. At the first dinner itself, she criticized my choice of earrings and, bangles, saying how she had never seen such jewelry. One would have thought that she was complimenting me, but her tone was very obnoxious and superior, which made me feel a bit uncomfortable. Both Jason and Carol picked up on it, and Carol even tried to compliment them in a more earnest fashion. Carol and I bonded because she had never had a close Indian friend, and she was super excited to have an Indian sister-in-law. She kept me engaged in topics of my culture and Bollywood, so I wouldn't have to interact much with Christina. However, this trend kept going even when Jason and I got married. She was mad that we did not get married in a church, even though Jason was not a very religious person, while I was. We decided to have an Indian wedding because it meant so much to me. We had a traditional Punjabi wedding with all the relatives and multiple ceremonies, including, henna applying ceremony, and Sangeet, a ceremony involving lots of festive dancing and celebratory songs. And of course, another ceremony where the women danced with a vessel on top of their head. And the wedding ceremony itself. My white family, who had never been to an Indian wedding, were mind-blown. I could tell because my sister-in-law would not shut up about it. I was so happy to see her enthusiasm and loved watching her experience mundane to me. I made her dance with a vessel over her head. I asked for her to get a full henna on her hand and feet like only the bride usually gets. I even urged her to match me with some of my ceremony outfits, and even the extended family enjoyed themselves a lot. I know that because they always brought it up in the upcoming years as well. They've always asked me to make them sweets they tasted in India for the first time every time I visit them. However, my mother-in-law did not have a great time. She kept commenting on how she didn't like crowds or how she hated the food because it gave her food poisoning. Yeah, I know it's bullcrap, as it did not give food poisoning to anyone else on the groom's side at all. She did not have a good time, and she made sure that I knew it. Lucky for me, my parents did not understand her accent very well, so they were unable and unaware of her snarky comments targeted towards them. Even after our wedding, my mother-in-law did not treat me with any sort of love. In my culture, it's disrespectful to call elders by their name, and you're supposed to call and treat your mother-in-law as your own mother. However, Christina didn't like that, and specifically asked me to call her Christina. It really bummed me out, but I respected her boundaries, even though her husband, my father-in-law, had no issue with me calling him Dad. The most annoying taunts began when Jason would call his family over for dinner. I'm a great cook, and I love making an Indian food because Indian food is notoriously good. And because I live just keeping the tradition alive even though I'm married to a white man. Christina did not like that I wished to keep my traditions alive and would often taunt my cooking and just say that the Indian food that I made was horrible and tasteless, making everybody uncomfortable. She advised me to make simpler dishes so I would not mess up. I wish I could tell you that my cooking is indeed horrible and tasteless, but it's just not true. If you have an Indian food even more than once, you can testify that my mother-in-law is a liar, because Indian food can never be described as tasteless. However, other family members absolutely love my cooking and is also proof that I'm a good enough cook. And it made Christina jealous. She didn't like it when others complimented me on my cooking, so my mother-in-law claimed that my food was horrible and tasteless was clearly her just being racist. My husband and sister-in-law have always tried to stand by me, claiming that I was the best cook. Every time their mother would criticize my cooking, Christina would just claim that her palate was different, and the food tasted horrible and tasteless to her. She claimed that she was allowed to have an opinion, yeah, which is valid, but her opinion was clearly pointed at racism. Once I had enough and called her out on it. She laughed in my face and claimed that just because she didn't like my food did not make her racist. She actually advised me to take a cooking class or even better learn from Carol a bit if I wanted to be even an okay cook. She often compared my cooking to Carol's, who never claimed herself to be a good cook. She just cooked for herself because she had no one else to cook for her. Humiliated, I vowed to avenge my food. I had enough, and I got intent on coming up with a plan to expose my mother-in-law's blatant racism. So, my sister-in-law and I came up with a plan. This Thanksgiving, I've decided that it's time for a reality check for my mother-in-law. Every year, Christina hosts a Thanksgiving dinner, where she subtly ridicules my cooking and my culture in front of everyone, even the extended family. I usually just ignore her pointed comments to annoy her further. However, most of the people in the family love my cooking, so her comments didn't really mean anything to anyone. I planned to strike on Thanksgiving by cooking the dinner myself and manipulating Christina into believing that I did not cook it. Carol claimed in front of Christina to be taking a class where she's learned how to enhance her cooking skills even more a few times in the last few months. So, a few weeks ago, I'd sent her to Christina with a request. Christina agreed to let Carol make the Thanksgiving feast. Carol asked also if I could make the dessert, and she reluctantly agreed. However, Carol does not intend on making the Thanksgiving feast, and I don't intend on making the dessert. I'll be the one making the Thanksgiving feast while Carol makes the dessert. We want to see how she'll react to my cooking now that she thinks it's actually her daughter's, and her daughter's cooking and she thinks is mine. It's time to expose my mother-in-law. This time she can't get away with her racism, as she would be complimenting her daughter's food, which is actually cooked by me. This plan will unveil my mother-in-law's prejudice in front of everyone. I'm just glad that Carol wanted to help me expose her own mother. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So this seems like an awesome plan. I can't wait to see if OP can pull this off. If you guys are enjoying today's story, or maybe you have a mother-in-law story of your own, drop a couple comments down below and let's talk about it. Also, if you do enjoy these stories, make sure you subscribe for daily animated drama stories. Thank you for that, and let's jump into update number 1. Hey guys, it's Arasha again. I have a huge update as today was Thanksgiving, and my sister-in-law and I put a plan in motion. The plan was simple yet effective and began even before we got to my mother-in-law's house where the Thanksgiving feast was supposed to take place. I'd prepared all the Thanksgiving dishes in advance at my house and met up with my sister-in-law a few miles away from my mother-in-law's house just to hand the food over to her. She gave me the dessert, and she had made it as well. Carol presented the food I made as her own food, and Christine immediately complimented how the food smelled delicious. However, when I handed her the dessert, Carol had made me look at it, and she told me that I should not have made it. After all, I was such a bad cook, and dessert should have been left to her. She added that now whatever is done, and people can't just choose to not eat the dessert because of my horrible cooking, as it's not even an essential part of the feast. I had to stop myself from rolling my eyes, at her usual antics as I made my way in and greeted the other guests who were lounging around in the living room. I patiently waited to see my mother-in-law's reaction to the food that she believed was made by her daughter instead of me. I could not wait to expose her true colors in front of everyone. Everyone made a small talk while waiting for everyone to arrive before starting the dinner. Jason, my husband, was also in on the plan and was trying to compliment the dessert that I'd brought, saying that he had tasted it in advance and it was great in front of his mother, while it was clear that Christina did not believe a word Jason said to her. When it was time for dinner, I was on my toes, patiently waiting for Christina's reaction. The moment she bit into the food I made, but believed that it was made by her daughter, she moaned so loud and smacked her lips together to show her appreciation. As expected, the moment mother-in-law tasted the food, she was over the moon. She praised Carol all through the dinner, saying that she was a great cook, and food has never tasted this delicious in her life. She encouraged her to cook more and host more dinners at her house so everyone would not have to eat my horrible food. Carol just smiled thinly throughout it all, not saying a word so as to not give away our plan in any way. Christina even advised me to learn a thing or two from her daughter. I just smiled thoroughly through it, genuinely happy because I was going to make her swallow her words and my food. I agreed with her wholeheartedly. All the while, she did not suspect a thing. I just sat back as she praised the food that was actually cooked by me. All the while, she thought she was praising her own daughter's cooking. She went a step ahead when she brought out the dessert. I knew why she had brought it out. She wanted to humiliate me by saying how horrible it was. She served it to everyone, and everybody dug into it before she had it on the plate. People generally liked it, saying that it was actually very tasty. I thanked everybody and smiled. However, when my mother-in-law tasted the dessert, she groaned and spit it out on her bowl, claiming that it was horrible and possibly even inedible. Jason tried to interject by claiming that it wasn't even bad. Christina told him that he knew nothing about food and it was not shocking as he ate my cooking every day. A few people who did not like me a whole lot laughed at her statement, while everyone else felt very uncomfortable with her remarks. Christina even forced people to stop eating the dessert and ruin the great feast her own daughter had cooked, although everybody claimed that they would finish the dessert instead of letting it go to waste. I could tell that Carol was upset by the turn of events as Christina had taken it too far this time, even by her standards. The dessert was actually really great. It had tasted really good. I tasted it before when Carol was practicing it at her cooking class. Even today, it tastes just as good. I didn't know what Christina was going on about. I did reassure Carol about it, though, by loudly claiming that the dessert just tasted great, and if anyone had an issue with it, well, it was their prejudice. My mother-in-law rolled her eyes at me and said that not everything is about prejudice, and some people just don't know how to cook and should not cook at all. That's when my husband butted in. He agreed with her, saying that some people just did not know how to cook, while some people did. It was clear how much everyone loved the Thanksgiving feast. Christina gave him a bright smile and claimed that her daughter knew how to cook well. But Jason interjected and told her that, well, you know what? That's where she was wrong. He revealed that Carol had not actually cooked the Thanksgiving feast. It was me who cooked it. He stated that he just wanted to see his mother's face when she found out that she had complimented her daughter-in-law's food that much, and Christina's face was now worth looking at, as her mouth hung open and her face drained of color. When everybody at the table saw her face, they all burst out laughing at her. It wasn't the kind of laughter I'd heard in the past, and I truly humiliated Christina and her opinion about food. It meant nothing now. This time, the laughter was filled with admiration for the clever plan and the realization of my mother-in-law's unjust bias towards me for being, well, from India. Christina turned red at the laughter out of anger, and she stood up and pointed to me, claiming that I was a manipulative woman who had manipulated everyone at the table to humiliate her. She claimed that I was too sensitive and brought up racism every time when there was none. I reminded her that she had complimented my food very highly when she thought it was actually her daughter's. She screamed that I tricked her. Well, I claimed yes, I did, and now I've exposed her as the racist old woman that she is. In anger, she rushed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. However, no one moved to go get her. Not even her husband, who just told me that it was a great, clever plan and that the feast and the dessert both tasted great. Everyone went home with humor in their eyes, and everybody found the plan to be absolutely hilarious. My father-in-law told us that Christina was probably at her sister's house licking her wounds, and that we should not worry too much. He would give his sister-in-law a call to ask the whereabouts of his wife, so we would not have to worry about her at all. I feel so much better having given my mother-in-law the taste of her own medicine. She liked humiliating me in front of everyone, but now I've humiliated her so much that she had to run away to save face from everybody at the table. And now everyone also has seen her true colors. I'm sorry that it was such a long update. I promise that if I update again, I will keep it concise. Thanks for reading about my revenge. Update number 2. Hey, it's Arasha here again. My mother-in-law tried to take revenge against me in the past few days. However, it did not pan out like she had hoped it would. It's been 2 weeks since the Thanksgiving dinner fiasco with my mother-in-law, and she was indeed licking her wounds at her sister's house. She had returned to her husband the next day itself, and when my father-in-law told her to apologize to me, she told him that she would not apologize to somebody who had intentionally humiliated her. When she found out that Carol was in on the plan, she deluded herself by believing that I must have manipulated her daughter against her own mother, just like I've done with her baby boy. She started calling Carol every day, trying to fill her ears with poison against me. She claimed that I've sabotaged her cooking by possibly ordering the food and I presented from a hotel, making her dessert look bad on purpose, because how can a homemade dessert stand against a restaurant-made feast? Christina just would not let go of Carol. And it wasn't just Carol. She tried to spread the rumor that the Thanksgiving dinner was actually restaurant-made to everybody present at the dinner table. I found out when Jason's cousin called me to reassure me that she did not actually believe Christina at all. I was shocked when I found out about it, as Carol had not mentioned any of it. So I confronted Carol and she told me that she didn't want to worry me. She reassured me that everyone knew that her mom was being petty after being humiliated for a reason in front of everyone. When Christina's plan fell through, as it was clear that nobody believed her concocted story, she went in for her daughter, thinking that she would be easy to manipulate, and she genuinely thought that I had manipulated Carol into helping her out. Christina has been recently calling Carol to discuss strategies on how to humiliate me completely at the next Christmas dinner. Carol's done with her mother's racist behavior and doesn't want anything to do with her, but Christina is not getting the hint. Christina had even shown up at Carol's while I was there having a glass of wine with my sister-in-law. Christina attacked me by saying that I was again poisoning her daughter against her, and I reminded her that we all knew the kind of person that she was. I no longer had the need to poison anyone against her. She did it herself. I could not help but laugh at her desperation. She told me that she would get revenge against me, and I asked if she would be spreading any more lies about me that nobody would believe because, let's face it, she's lost literally all her credibility. I told her to just accept that she was a racist old woman and needs to do better. Nobody would be mad at her if she just started treating me better, like a part of the family. Well, she was seething and told me that I would never be part of this family. Only a white woman with light skin would ever be right for her boy. She called me a mistake on Jason's part, and I told her to take her delusion somewhere else, as Jason and I were not going to be breaking up anytime soon. In fact, I informed her that I and Jason have been discussing adopting a baby from India. She almost attacked me at that, but Carol interjected and told her to leave. Christina was horrified that her own daughter was asking her to leave instead of throwing me out, and told Carol to be respectful to the elders. Carol told her that she had insulted her sister-in-law and she's no longer going to be respectful towards her either. Once she was out the door, Carol immediately jumped at the adoption news. Well, guys, this happened yesterday, although I don't think there's anything Christina can do or say. Her credibility has been destroyed and nobody believes a word that she says now. So I'm not worried about her threats as they're clearly empty. Final update. Hey guys, it's Arasha. It's been 2 months since my mother-in-law tried to take revenge against me for humiliating her. Rightfully so, in front of the whole family for being racist towards me. Christina has not contacted me or my husband even once after the Thanksgiving dinner. Instead had tried to spread false lies about me, which no one even believed. She never apologized, never even acknowledged that she was in the wrong in the first place, and however, she's tried to humiliate me again and again and again, ever since. She again tried to lie to everyone, however, people knew of her true nature and starts to keep their distance from her. They saw through her and understood that she was stubborn and would never change and become tired of her unchanging ways very quickly. Most of my extended family only maintained a low contact with her. And that too only because my father-in-law, who's actually pleasant to be around. Carol had hosted the Christmas dinner and had not invited her mother, and no one even complained about it. Everybody seemed happier not having to deal with Christina's racist commentary on the dessert I made for dinner. A few of the extended family members even came forward and apologized to me for my mother-in-law's behavior, which wasn't even necessary. Which is what I told them. Everything between us went back to normal after that. Jason and I have actually also been looking to adopt a baby from India. We've never wanted to have kids of our own and have been in contact with an orphanage. We could not be happier or more eager. Only Carol and my father-in-law know about this development, and of course my mother-in-law. Carol and her dad are happy about what we've decided for ourselves and can't wait to meet the child we adopted. Even my father-in-law has claimed that Christina has stopped talking to him unless strictly necessary, although he does believe that she will be normal towards him in no time. Anyways, that's it guys. I think this will most likely be my last update on the drama. Thank you for reading it.
I mean, guys, today's story was absolutely hilarious in my opinion. I'm not talking about all the toxicity that was involved in the story. I'm talking about OP's revenge plan to pretend like the food wasn't cooked by OP, and in fact cooked by the beloved daughter of mother-in-law. And I'll just tell you, this is one of the best revenges that I've seen in quite some time, because not only did they prove their point that mother-in-law is a bad person, but they proved it by doing it in such a funny way. And guys, I want to know your thoughts about it, so let me know in the comment section down below what you would have done if consistently, over and over and over, you have to deal with the criticism from your mother-in-law, which is what OP had to deal with, and this one was mainly related to cooking. So guys, if you ever been in this situation or have stories you want to share about your mother-in-law, father-in-law, or heck, any in-law story, the holidays just passed, so I'm sure there's plenty of good stories to talk about. Drop them down below in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stories, and if you want more daily drama readings, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.